Welcome, Scorpio. This is Regina from Pacific Tarot, getting ready to do a reading for you that is coming directly from Spirit. I am doing a Celtic cross, a traditional tarot reading, probably the most commonly used traditionally. And I'm going to start with the Energy Archaeology Oracle. And I pull the Power card. Which is really something that is on your mind, how you are growing your vision, how you are seeing yourself placed within a larger vision you have for improving your environment, improving your world. And I'm going to read a little bit from the guidebook for clarity. So this energy flow that is represented by the third finger and the third toe is translated into highest frequencies by aligning with power at a spiritual level. It's also aligning with more dense mental energy plane, about how you gain power from your gifts, talents, and abilities, and how others perhaps have subverted power from these same things. This feels like the touch point for this reading's focus, and the emotional plane, how you feel about power and how subsequently power feels about you. So these are all attuned to the physical plane, the embodied energy that translates to your present sense of powerfulness. True power in this world is not power over nature or power over people, but power within yourself. As you align with your sovereign power as a creator being, you call back in all of those distorted stories and you clear them. You can now welcome power in its true state, a resounding, cohesive roar. There's no need for dominance or submission. You can caretake one another and the earth as equals. So there's a lot there. This is a message you've received before. I feel like this is really critical at this particular time as you are learning, growing in your expansive powers, but also looking to communicate and share what you are feeling, what you've learned, what you now understand about the nature of our individual power. What's crossing you is the King of Swords, and crossing in the sense of challenging your sense of power, I believe, is one of your gifts. The King of Swords talks about words, language, the way we speak, the words we use and their power. The King of Swords indicates someone with a highly discerning sense of word usage, one who is perhaps poetic in the way they employ language, is very thoughtful about what is necessary, no more or no less. But what goes into that discrimination regarding words and language used is a lot of thought. And sometimes this can be an over-analysis and overthinking of words used rather than a kind of channeling what's coming through your own soul power. And I feel like this is something you may be contemplating. You may have produced language or words that you now see as limited, as not quite covering your necessary expression or the communication you were aiming for, or you may be rethinking the way that you employ language, perhaps in your profession. Perhaps you're a journalist or a teacher or a poet, or you are a marketer who makes presentations to the public and is striving for that natural language that communicates at a very basic but familiar level, informal level. So this is something you're giving a lot of work to, and I believe that this is in response to something you are currently creating or something you currently practice. For your goals, you have the Empress, the lovely Empress. This is absolutely beautiful. This really is a reinforcement about your balance regarding power that you expend, that you share with others, your ability to give information, to support productivity, and the power that you receive. The balance of that being recognized, being loved, being appreciated, perhaps receiving a material reward for the effort you expend, and making sure, because you understand your value, that it equals your effort. And this isn't always about money or material recompense. You have the ability to understand abundance on your own terms on many levels. So there's a sense of an abundant, comfortable, stable environment in which you work that fully supports the value you give, your ability to be highly productive, something you greatly value. So this is reinforcing the idea that you're working on something, you're in the middle of something, you're producing. And at the foundation, the Four of Cups, interesting here, you have been practicing this notion of moving towards things that feel good to you. This is likely a response to a highly rigid or um, demanding environment. This can be a reflection of childhood or early lifestyle environment where you had perhaps a scarce environment and there was a lot expected of you in terms of what you contributed to others and the responsibility that you had to others. That feels like the focus here, so that you have learned to practice a gentler, softer experience of your power, right? All power is not hard power. It's not all about working hard, working tirelessly, giving beyond what is comfortable to give. You've been really adjusting your expectation of self, requiring yourself to identify and move towards those things that value and support and recognize you. You are reconsidering opportunities that you once grasped eagerly in the past, or perhaps that you entertained in the past that you're now rethinking, reimagining if these really match your current level of balance, of abundance, of self-esteem that has been growing you as you've learned to honor yourself, respect yourself, love yourself. In the past, the Ten of Wands is emphasizing again this idea that you have held a lot of responsibility for others. And this isn't always a blatantly oppressive experience. This can be your responsibility through your profession. I'm a healer, I'm a doctor, I'm a teacher. I'm responsible for those I care for or attend to. So there's something built into the labor that you do that requires you to take what you do seriously as you recognize the phenomenal impact on others as a result of your efforts. So, this can be a way that you have greatly structured and responded to the expectation, again, perhaps as the result of a profession, professional ethics or standards that you carried, even when those were institutionally not in alignment with your own instinct or intuition about what was best for others or how you would like to leave an impact on others. In the immediate future, we have the Moon card. I think this is indicating a great deal of confidence, courage, and bravery on your part in really looking deeply at the way these issues about control of your productivity, what strikes the right balance or tone in your efforts, and how you have supported others and how you are learning to support yourself and to privilege that. And the moon card is saying you don't shy away from the hard look at yourself, from looking at those uncomfortable experiences or emotions that you've engendered along the way, particularly as it relates to the past. And I mean deeper than necessarily your personal past in childhood or family of origin. This is you making a larger connection to your ancestry, to your spirit team, to spirit in general, in whatever way you identify that. That may be God, that may be universal consciousness. However you see it, you are recognizing that despite the demands of your life and your environment, you are not alone. You have never been alone. You have been, and you may be keenly aware that you're here for a very specific purpose. It feels as though there's this very specific story that you have been honing through your experience, a way that you've been narrowing down the field, perhaps of education, language, or the way you voice or articulate who you are to the world, what your expression is. This feels like the source of that empowerment is clearer and clearer to you, and that is through opening up to your subconscious. Remembering, Scorpio, you have a direct link to the collective unconscious. This is the field of what everyone unconsciously desires and or needs on a global level. You can tap into that. You understand that. You pick up on the need not just to survive, but to be impactful. In your strengths and weaknesses, the star, boy, the star is really talking about this vision I may have mentioned at the very top of this reading. This idea that you are growing your vision, that you are thirsty for the information, connections, means with which you can exchange ideas and information with other cultures, other less familiar groups or communities, that you understand that the realm you're working within affects many cultures, if not all of them. And you're really staying connected with that. Some of you are literally linguists or translators or multilingual. And so that is one of the vehicles through which you are retooling your efforts or opportunities to shape the language or the voice that articulates and expresses who you are. In the environment, the tower. Don't laugh, Scorpios. This seems like such a constant in your life, and it is truly a blessing. This is really pulling your coattails to remind you that you actually have a vision that carries across cultures, that comes from an immersion in the status quo, in such a way as to challenge it, to see loopholes, or to recognize alternatives that you can actually impact and create. So this is about an idea. This may be a socially shared idea about the way we are to be served by our social institutions that you are in a position to challenge. And by challenging, I mean, again, the ability to create something on your own terms or in a language that you share with others who are ordinarily excluded from the conversation. So this is beautiful energy. This is you precisely doing that opening up to receive something that you may not entirely see, you may not entirely be aware of, that may be, in fact, emerging as we speak. And in a chaotic world, or a world that seems chaotic and crumbling in many ways, you actually hold a vision of how, in fact, this deterioration of social service can work to the benefit of creating something better. And in the place of hopes and fears, the Hermit card. Okay, so there's a run of major arcana cards here. The Hermit is really about having that sacred space. And this is a big emphasis with the planetary energy that exists. Creating that sacred space, honoring that, protecting that space where you get to meditate on what learning is available to you now. You are understanding that your authority rests on the way in which you manage your own power and your own expression. And the growth of that requires you to continually go back and revisit those you respect as teachers, mentors, those who help you see what is appropriate for you, what is in alignment, and what solidifies your personal authority, understanding that only you know what is best for you, but that is informed by your ability to heal, go within, meditate, and seek answers within. This is beautiful energy. This also can speak to the fear of being alone, the fear of that power. And I do believe it's power you experience regularly and consistently. You perhaps have experienced it all your life. Alone, you tap into that personal power, and it can be overwhelming in that it doesn't feel as though there's room for others in that space. And that can be a fear that you will be alone, or you're alone in the creation of something that is meant to serve others. And finally, your outcome, the Six of Wands. This is beautiful, and I had looked at the bottom of the deck here, so we will be clarifying here, but right away, the Six of Wands is amplified by the Six of Pentacles. This is all about balance. And certainly in all of our lives, in all ways, we see areas where we seek balance, the balance of our own personal and authentic creation and how that is received or how we share that with others. And I do believe that your focus is on the equity in that process. Is it just? Is it fair? Is it inclusive for everyone? Does it factor in strengths and weaknesses of others? But by operating within some kind of a collective, on a team, as part of some group, you are affecting and recognizing that your strength is most active and most potentially beneficial in community. The work you do is not done despite the necessity for privacy and internal space and sacred space in order to do your work. This work is actually affected as you take it out into the world, as you negotiate it and make agreements with others. This is all speaking to the power of not only the balance that you've established in your life, but the justice, the equity, the fairness with which you share and create your gifts for others. So I am indeed going to clarify this outcome with 3 cards. Ooh, goodness. The Three of Swords. And whoa, okay, I'm taking the things that fly, it looks like. And the Ace of Cups. Lovely. 2 aces here. Okay. So the Three of Swords talks about the sense of powerlessness you felt perhaps in the past. This can always be somewhat about our childhood because as children we are powerless. We exist at the behest of our caregivers. They control our actions, our environment to a large extent. And even as we grow, there can be imbalances or expectations of us that are set up so that we view our experiences of pain or suffering or unfairness as the betrayal by someone else. Someone else can be blamed. Of course, as children, we can always blame our parents or our caregivers for what we did or didn't receive. And I do see that this wounding is really critical to you in some way, the understanding of it, not just the healing of it, because I do believe you understand the pattern that this represents. So the pattern of family love, family togetherness, family survival was something you continue to choose through your life until you recognized that this wasn't the fault of others. In fact, it became something that you were choosing time and time again, knowing what the outcome was going to be and that outcome was not going to be fair. It was going to cause you pain and suffering. These 2 aces speak about the clearing away through delving into this dynamic, this trauma, this oppression you experienced. You have understood that by surrendering to it, by allowing yourself to feel this, that you actually have indeed surrendered it, released it. And you are absolutely still in that process. Just because you're making space, you're clearing it away, doesn't mean that it is not something that requires your ongoing healing. That healing that you do through your exchanges of energies, through your relationships, the way you value yourself and demand value for your effort. The Ace of Wands and the Ace of Cups talks about where that sense of newness, a new persona, a new energy, a new version of yourself, and a new understanding of the power of love. And I think this is critical in any healing process. We can surrender and release all we want, but if we don't surrender with love, if we don't turn our former enemies or those that betrayed us or hurt us, if we don't release them with real love so that we begin to understand that they too were wounded, they too are in need of our compassion. That's what I do believe your understanding turns the tide, and thus why you understand it is through your relationships, through the exchanges of energy that you activate in your life, that the healing actually becomes real and makes the kind of space that releases hurt, resentment, anger, frustration from your consciousness. This is the kind of space that is setting the tone for your positive negotiations, agreements, and relationships. I'm going to finish this with a crystal oracle and hope this has been insightful for you. I'm seizing on, the malachite, and the key word is healing. I'm a healing machine manifesting miracles. I think enough said here. Thank you so much, Scorpio, for this reading. Until next time, namaste.